So today I wanted to talk about something I've seen in past games that could be potentially an issue in the upcoming Diablo 4 release, depending on how PvP zones fully work on the release. So let's get into it and let's talk about the issues. So let's say, for example, if Diablo 4's PvP zones have restrictions that we've seen in other previous large-scale PvP games, such as Ark Survival Online or Atlas, many other titles, but those two are the big ones that really concern me because of wide-scale PvP and how it worked. Um, so let's say Diablo 4, for example, has a 50-man or a 100-man player limit per PvP zone. What that means is these large Zerg clans are going to be able to flood and overfill these limited player PvP zones. And what that will cause is they can just control it to where there's no outside source and they can just freely farm without worries or PvP. And therefore, exploit and not have to worry about dying and losing shards, etc. So the PvP zones in Diablo 4, they're calling it the Fields of Hatred. It's an open world PvP zone, right? So open world takes place in dedicated zones around the world. So so-called Fields of Hatred, you'll be required to opt into the PvP zones. That's the queue system I was talking about, the opting part. So I wonder how that's going to work. I wonder if we'll be able to just Zerg it and then, queue several hundred players at once and then just, have majority of the players in the zone be your friends and just dominate the field. Whether or not you're in a party, you know what I mean. So like, if it's not randomized queue system and it doesn't prevent you from playing with your friends, then I can see this being exploitable, and then thus allowing you to just freely convert your seeds of hatred, as well as just farm the zone, right? So you can just farm and get your mounts and whatever other rewards. They did mention mount vendors. I'm not sure what else you can get, but you can get the bonus for surviving, etc. There's a lot of advantages that come from locking the PvP zone with large Zergs, and I'm hoping that they've already considered this. I'm hoping that they have a way to prevent it. So as we know, there's a lot of coverage on the game. There's a lot of big content creators covering the game. There's a lot of big streamers covering the game. And, just to mention a few of them, like Quinn, Asmongold, the Comeback Kids, Boy House, Vulcan, etc. Right? Like all these big names are going to be playing the Diablo 4, right? And like there's so many more that are going to be playing as well, and they all have very large communities who are supportive and following, etc. So what I'm saying is these larger content creators potentially can take their Zerg communities and lock PvP zones and just, essentially farm the rewards and benefits from the PvP zones without any risk and just free farm it all the time because of large communities. So hopefully this is definitely addressed. I hope this is not an issue. I hope I'm just paranoid and past experiences are making me paranoid, right? So hopefully that's the case. So we all remember the game Ark Survival Evolved. This is a 2000. I think beta came out 2015ish. I definitely played beta. I did a lot of the testing, and then the game officially I think released 2017. There's young me without the mustache. I'll blow it up for you. Quality's not the best. I didn't have the greatest PC at the time then. But yeah, this is on the official servers, and so essentially what we used to do was, if we wanted to raid another official server, we would get like, 150, 200 people, and we'd go and lock your server. And what I mean. Here's some examples of locking the server. So there's server limits, right? Like they're 70 player server limits, and so that means only 70 people can be on the server at a time. So what our groups would do is we would take our large Zergs and we would join other official servers and lock the players out of it so they couldn't defend their bases, they couldn't defend their dinosaurs. So we just take all your stuff while you can't do anything about it. Because you can't log in, you can't do anything about it. You can't you can't compete with us because we don't allow you to. We fill the server with all of our players and prevent you from playing. So that's a really big issue. And there's other games like Atlas. I mentioned Atlas. Atlas has the same issue. So each one of these tiles is a 100-player limit. At least when I played it, this came out 2000. I want to say 18 or 19. I can't remember, but anyways, it was the same thing as like Ark, except you just like build ships, drove around. There's no dinosaurs or whatever, and you know it's the same concept and PvP wise. Anyways, each like G10 for example, only 100 people could be in this tile at once. So what we would do, and the French really did this a lot in this game. They would bring 500 people and then surround that tile with hundreds of players. That way the tile around it's locked, and then they would put hundreds of players in the main tile. That way they controlled the entire grid. That way nobody could come there while they're doing whatever, farming, ops, building a base, whatever they're doing, killing a boss, I don't know, whatever. And it would just prevent them from having to deal with PvP or raiders, etc. And they would, it literally ruined the official servers for these games. And I'm afraid that if the Diablo system's not randomized, like, if you're able to somehow queue with your 4-man party, but as well on Discord with 100 plus people, you all queue at the same time, and then potentially 95 of you or more get into the same PvP zone. Well, now there's 95 of you in the same PvP zone on Discord. So you see what the problem is? So, I could potentially see people avoiding PvP and exploiting that if that is a thing, and hopefully they have some way to prevent that. Maybe there's some type of like queue system where you can't queue with anybody on your friends list. That means anybody that is on your BattleNet friends list, you cannot queue in PvP. Like, if I queue for a random game and my friend is not in my party at the time when I queue, that means I will never get into my friend's game randomly. That would easily prevent the large zergs because well, I guess they could just not friend each other and then do the countdown on Discord anyways. And a few hundred people all queuing for the same thing, it's likely that a lot of them are going to get in at the same time, right? So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Hopefully they can figure something out to prevent that, because that definitely killed PvP. And one of my favorite games, dude. I have almost 6,000 plus hours in Ark Survival, and it really ruined the game. And the only way to combat it was to fight fire with fire. So we had to keep our server locked at all times. Like, we had people who had dedicated PCs with multiple accounts constantly logged in all the time. So, yeah, I mean, PvP is a serious thing. So hopefully they address this issue, and maybe they've already addressed it. Maybe they played Ark, or I don't know. So but yeah, that's a problem. All right, so that's going to bring us to the end of the video. Hey, I want to hear you guys' feedback. If you think this would be a problem, if you guys played Ark or Atlas or any game that had PvP zone limit caps, etc., and you've had this experience in the past, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll get you guys in the next video. Bye.
Attack during that single moment, but I think that really creates a lot of opportunity for you to team up with friends for just that one little moment in order to gain the reward that you